Okay, so here's the deal. New injector pump. 1, 2, 3 new injectors on a Ford 3-cylinder. Not a bad deal, not a hard job. On this particular backhoe, I took the weights off the front and took the whole cover off so I could take the radiator out and do a bunch of other stuff. If you're brave enough, you could drain your radiator, take the bottom hose off, and get to this little inspection plate right there. And behind that plate is the 3 bolts that actually hold the pump to the gear. And if you're brave enough to take them out, this really ain't no deal. It's a little, there's some lines that's a little aggravating to get to, so you know, you might as well be patient. It took me about 8 hours to do this job total. But you can, it's really, other than the plates on front of this thing, it's just a one-man job. Take you a weekend to do it. I'm going to give a shout out to Tractor Parts Barn. .com. Man, they hooked me up with a new pump, new injectors. The worst part of it's probably going to be priming it. So if you've ever run one out of fuel, you know how aggravating it is. But here's the key. Fill the tank full of fuel. Start at the filter. When you get good fuel flow in there with no bubbles in it, tighten that one up. Open this one. This is the pump drain or bleed valve. Take that out. Good idea would be reach up in there and take the cap loose on the tank. But you need to make sure you're full of fuel, because the gravity of that fuel is a big help. When you get that bled, crank it over with that valve open and the fuel shut off in the off position. So pull your fuel shut off out and crank it over till you get fuel out that hole. When you get fuel out that bleed valve, shut that one. Open up your 3 lines. And it's a good idea, if you ain't got a new battery, you better get one or have a battery charger close by, because you're going to be here a while. Open these valves up and spin it over a time or two. And it's going to take a little while, because you got to remember, everything's empty. There's no fuel in anything. So, you do that. It's really a piece of cake from there. I mean, like I said, I got 8 hours in it. But if you handy it all, you can do it, no problem. You know, on this timing little deal, this is the other thing. That timing right there, you see that mark right there? And that 0 right there? That's where you want that thing. Put it on 0. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, the manufacturer, you can have all the owner's manual you want. They ain't going to tell you nothing. If you take that pump off and you don't turn this motor over, that pump is to take it off, put it right back on, put it on 0, and it'll run. If you don't turn that motor over. You don't want nobody around you messing with your stuff while you're working on it. Shut the power off to it, undo the battery, whatever you got to do. But fix it where it can't be cranked or turned over, because if you turn it over, USOL, buddy, you're going to have problems. But if you don't turn it over, you can take the pump off and put the pump right back on. Put your lines on, bleed the system, and it'll run. It'll run like a top. So I just did this video just so you'll know that what I found out the hard way is you don't have to worry about the timing. If you pull that pump off and put it right back on, the pump won't be an issue as long as you there's a pin in the back side of the gear and a slot on the motor. If you'll pull it off and put the pin back in the slot, and be careful. I mean, you got to be careful. So you got to pay attention. And if you happen to have the radiator out and you can get to the front of it, you can look in there and see the pin, and you can pretty much line the two of them up. And then that's really all there are to it. Like once you get it together, the worst part's bleeding it. But there you are. There's your video like I couldn't find. I hope somebody can get something out of it and not scared to take your pump off and fix it. Thank you. And if you like my video, tell me so. Thanks.